Life often presents us with mountains that sometimes seem insurmountable, overwhelming challenges that leave us feeling helpless and maybe even uncertain. It could be a health crisis, financial turmoil, a broken relationship, or maybe it's just a daunting decision that's weighing heavily on your heart. It's in these moments where the obstacles they loom large and they're right ahead and our own resources feel inadequate. You see, in the Bible, King Jehoshaphat of Judah, he faced a similar overwhelming position or situation which we saw in 2 Chronicles chapter 20 from this past Sunday. A coalition of enemy armies was marching against him, and defeat, it seemed certain. He was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. They were already on his doorstep. And Jehoshaphat, he did something unexpected. Rather than prepare for battle, he called the nation to fast and to seek God's guidance. He gathered people, young and old, men and women, and those who were able to gather. Jehoshaphat, he stood before them and prayed a prayer that was just oh so humble and transparent, where he said, "Our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power to face this vast army that is attacking us. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you." 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 12. This humble admission is powerful. Jehoshaphat, he didn't rely on military strategies or seek alliances with other nations in this final hour. Instead, he openly confesses their inability to handle the situation at hand, and he chose to fix the nation's eyes on God. And God's response in this situation was swift. It was reassuring. He raised up a prophet who said, "Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army. For the battle is not yours, but God's." 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 15. Following God's instructions, Jehoshaphat then appointed singers the next day who would lead the army towards the battle. And they were praising God and his everlasting love as they marched. And as they worshiped the Lord, he set up ambushes against the enemies, and victory was granted without the Judah ever having to fight. And so there's some application points for us today when it comes to our own overwhelming battles. Number one is we need to acknowledge our limitations. It's okay to admit that we don't have all the answers. In fact, recognizing our own limitations is the first step toward experiencing God's power in our lives, because our eyes turn towards him rather than the things that we think we can fix. Number two is to do just that. Fix your eyes on God. Shift the focus from your problems to the greatness of God. And prayer and worship are powerful tools that help realign our perspective on the God who can. Number three is to take a step of faith. Jehoshaphat, they didn't just stand idly by, but the Lord said, still show up to the battle. And so he moved forward in obedience, and trust often requires that action, even when the outcome isn't visible. Number four is to worship in the midst of the battle and even before the battle. Praise isn't just for after the victory. Worshiping during the struggle invites God into the presence in our situation and demonstrates that we trust him and where he's going to lead us, even if we can't see the victory in the here and now. And number five is to get us through, we want to trust God's promise. Remember that the battle is not always ours, but God's. He's able to turn our valleys of despair into valleys of blessing. He's able to overcome any enemy we may have. And so today, what mountain are you facing? Where do you feel outnumbered or overwhelmed? Maybe you need to take a moment to bring this situation before God, to take your eyes off the problem and to put it on him. That we need to admit our need for him, that we need his power, we need his sovereignty to just step into our situation. And then we need to trust that whichever direction the Lord sends us is for our own good, even if it's not the direction that we would necessarily take, knowing that he's putting together something beautiful.